Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Okay, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, of course. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor, for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are cutting out of town again. We're getting out of Puerto Vallarta and we're going to El Tuito. And we're going to visit a bird sanctuary called Rancho Primavera. And I'm going to introduce you to Bonnie Jauregui. And then I'm going to take you to Mayto and to a little hotel. We're going to spend the night at a place called El Rinconcito. But first, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 23rd of December, 2018. Well, it's almost Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays. And Christmas and New Year's are, just a great time to be in Puerto Vallarta. And speaking of Christmas, it's Posada time in Mexico. And in Puerto Vallarta, of course, we are in Mexico and Puerto Vallarta. Although sometimes you look around and you wonder, whatever. Anyway, I found this great article in Mexperience, dated December 16th, and it reads, December 16th marks the start of the annual Posadas Navideñas in Mexico. Posada is a Spanish word for inn, and the Posadas Navideñas, which recall events leading up to the Nativity of Jesus, are a centerpiece of Christmas traditions in Mexico. A local posada begins with a street procession that reenacts Mary and Joseph's search for an inn on their way to Bethlehem and is akin to a street theatrical musical. The protagonists of the story, the good guys, most often portrayed in costume by children, and in rural towns, a real donkey actually may be present too. They carry lighted candles along a prescribed route around a local neighborhood, asking through means of special posada songs for room at the inn, knocking on doors along the way. Other children and adults follow behind, also participating in the posada songs, and neighbors along the route open their doors and purposefully refuse Mary and Joseph in song until at the end of the route, a designated house or sometimes a local church or a village hall allows Mary and Joseph to pass, and then a Christmas party ensues there. The party, or posada, is, as it's referred to, often features Christmas carols and a piñata, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a colorful papier-mâché figurine which is strung up on a rope, and when it's broken open by partygoers, hitting it blindfolded with a stick, eventually pours out fruit and confection, which the children scurry around and collect. There is usually at least one posada taking place in a neighborhood of every town on every night between the 16th and the 24th of December. How about that? If you are in Mexico during this time, and you get a chance to witness or participate in a posada navideña, you'll discover why it's one of the most popular and charming Christmas experiences on offer here. And then, of course, I have a link to the article in the show notes for this episode. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know much about posadas. I mean, I noticed that businesses, around Vallarta and in Mexico often close for their own Christmas office parties, which they refer to as posadas. I wonder if the Yo Tambien movement has put a kibosh on the traditional Christmas party in Mexico, because I know that here in the States, they say that only about 64% of businesses are going to have Christmas parties because, well, they call it, those Christmas parties are known as Sexual Harassment Day, I believe, in the States. Anyway, I wonder if Mexicans have the same issues with drinking and workplace extracurricular hanky-panky. You think so? Nah, no. Are you kidding me? Never happened. Speaking of work, in Mexico, the Mexican government just boosted the labor minimum wage, you guys. The labor and business sectors agreed last Monday to raise the minimum wage by 16.2% in 2019, a third consecutive year of double-digit increases aimed at restoring the purchasing power of the country's lowest earners. The minimum wage will rise to 102.68 pesos. That is $5.10 a day, up from 88.36 pesos, and that'll happen January 1st. And along the northern border with the United States, the minimum daily wage will double to 176.72 pesos, or $8.80 a day, said Labor Minister Luisa Maria Alcalde. All right, so we are seeing the new administration flexing their muscle from the very start, and they're getting those minimum wage increases going. Obviously, one of their promises, and it seems like they are keeping it. So we'll see what happens. And good for you guys. Good for you to get that minimum wage hiked up. All right, we are coming close to the end of the year, and New Year's is always a real blast here in Mexico, and especially in Puerto Vallarta. There's fun, there's festivities, there's fireworks, and many of the restaurants all over town are having special dinners and dancing, and they're all having the whole night, the whole thing, where you come and you get your appetizers and your drinks and your food and your dancing. And then if you don't happen to be on the beach, they'll escort you out over to the beach for the countdown for the end of the year, and you get to watch the fireworks, or you go out to Olas Altas. I mean, it is a party. Wow, it's a lot of fun. And as you may know or may not know, at the stroke of midnight, boy, that whole bay just goes wild with fireworks celebrations all over the place. And with the holidays coming up, there will be a schedule change. Let's make a note here, you guys, over at Corazon de Niña. If you were planning on going there during the holiday weekend, or holiday week, I should say, the humanitarian tour will take place on Thursday rather than on Tuesday this coming week because, well, Tuesday is Christmas Day. So they hope to see you there on Thursday at 9:30 sharp over at Corazon de Niña. And if you want more information about Corazon de Niña, just go to my website, go to the search bar, type in Corazon de Niña, and you will find all the information that you need, or just type in Corazon de Niña, Puerto Vallarta in the Googlers, and sure enough, you will find it, and you'll find out all about this wonderful, wonderful place where they take in kids, and just the transformation is remarkable. Go there. Go visit, really. Now, January is closing in, and so is the upcoming meet and greet, the open microphone podcast that we're going to have with JR over at Kelly's Por Favor Saloon and Cookhouse, his normal meet and greet spot. I'm going to butt in there, and we are going to be having an open microphone podcast, as we have on several occasions on the rooftop over at Kelly's Por Favor. There's going to be eating and drinking. We're going to have a great time. And I'm going to really look forward to seeing you and to talking with you and having you come on the show and just find out what you guys are doing in paradise. We're going to be meeting January the 8th, Tuesday, January the 8th from 5:30 until about 7:30. And then the following Tuesday, January the 15th, same time, 5:30 until 7:30. I love hearing what you guys are doing. I want to hear about your favorite places to eat and the places that you're staying and, crazy things that have happened to you, right? Because we all have crazy things that happen to us. Anyway, you guys know the drill. You've listened to my show. Come and share your experiences with us and we'll all learn. And by the way, if you happen to have a local business and you want to pitch it, I've had people come and do that before. So why not come on over? Tell us what you're doing. Tell us how you make a living in paradise, and tell us why we need to use your service, right? Maybe you run a charity, right? A charity. Did I say charity? Maybe you run a charity, or maybe you want to tell us about a charity that you know about that happens to be really, really special to you. Well, we're waiting for you, so come on down and talk to us. It's really a good time. And if you're in town, even if you don't want to talk to me, okay, you just want to say hi, you want to have a good time, come on down and hang with us, right? You don't have to say anything. It's cool. All right. Anyway, I'm going to have an open microphone, feet in the sand, right by the water's edge in front of Cuatasicuetes meet and greet. I should say open microphone on the second week of my stay. Next week, I will give you the time and the date for that. But I figure it'll be about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll give you the date. And believe it or not, next week will mark the second anniversary of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. Wow. 2 years have gone by pretty fast, haven't they? Now, originally, I planned to make this particular podcast a 2-year project. So bye. See you later. No, I'm kidding. Really. We have right now over 100 interviews and almost 100 episodes in the archives. And it's just, to me, it's become obvious that we really haven't even scratched the surface of what we can do here on the Bahia de Banderas. There's still more to learn. And, if you guys aren't tired of me and tired of these shows, well, I guess if you don't mind, I'll just keep doing them. Because I love doing them, okay? All right, let's get on with the interview, shall we? On my last visit to Paradise back in October, I had planned to take 2 road trips, one to San Sebastian, and we went there, remember? And the other, I wanted to go back to El Tuito and visit the bird sanctuary that I'd heard about on many occasions. One of them, when I went down to El Tuito and was asking people what their favorite things to do were, Maria Santander over at Galleria Copelia, she said, beautiful place, a lot of people go there. And even Maddie and Jesse over at that bed and breakfast at La Jolla de El Tuito, they told us about that too, didn't they? And also, thinking back, Astrid from Ecotours de Mexico, the whale watching lady, the one that gives the tours of the whale watching, well, she also talked a little bit about taking people on tours to this place called Rancho Primavera in El Tuito. Before I go, let me just say that this is kind of going to be a bit of a travel log. So let's go for it, okay? At the beginning of my trip, I actually had staked out a really great Airbnb. It was like $22 a night. And, it's October, right? So the deals are there in October. I checked this Airbnb to find out what they were charging for it during the high season, and it's close to $80 a night. So $22 a night in October. This is what this is what you get in exchange for nearly unbearable heat, but a great deal, right? This place had a fantastic rooftop view. It even had a nice view of the bay from the kitchen window, although you don't stand in the kitchen very often and stare out the window. I just went up to the roof. Anyway, I had that place for 6 days, and then the plan was to go to El Tuito and then meet Bonnie over at Rancho Primavera, and then have my buddy, the taxi driver, Javier, drive me to Mayto, where I would spend the night at this really cool place, and then he would pick me up the next day and take me on to Tehuamixtle Bay, where I would do an interview there, and then take me back to El Tuito, where I would grab a bus back to Puerto Vallarta, and then check into my new Airbnb for the last 3 nights of my stay. So that was the plan. And so the week before my trip, I called Javier, and I called him from my place in Los Angeles to his place in El Tuito, just to make sure that he'd be available to drive me around, and he agreed that he would be able to do that. All I needed to do was give him a call. He would hold the day for me. And then he told me that story, and I'm sure I told you a little bit about that story, about how he got held up by somebody who asked him for a ride to Vallarta, and he had to give up his money and his phone, and he told me he was using his old phone, and at that point I told him I'll bring him my old one. And anyway, I made that arrangement. And then I called down to Mayto, to the Hotel El Rinconcito, and I made a reservation for 1 night again, and then I was all set. So I checked out of that Airbnb, that one up in the sky. Great, great place. About 9 in the morning, and I summoned an Uber to come pick me up and take my luggage and me over to JR's place. And I took all my recording equipment and my overnight bag, a little change of clothes, some bug spray, my camera, packed it all into my day pack, and then I left everything else, all my luggage and stuff, with JR. I told him where I was headed, where I was going to be, so that if I didn't come back, I could send somebody out looking for me, I guess. I don't know. And I headed down to the bus stop for the El Tuito bus over at Aguacate and Carranza, across from the Kiosco convenience store. And I have that in the show notes too. I got a little map there if you don't know where all that stuff is. It's not too far from my buddies over at Mariscos Cisneros, and I stopped actually over and talked with Marcos to find out who I should talk to when I got over to Tehuamixtle, because that was one of his favorite places, and one of the favorite places that he goes to have oysters. And anyway, he told me to go see Candy, so I got on the bus, and I can't remember if I was asked to pay when I got on the bus or when I got off the bus. I do know that it was 36 pesos, which is about $2 US, to take that bus from that corner of Aguacate and Carranza all the way up to El Tuito, to that little town. And it's about an hour and a half ride all the way up there. I sat on the right side of the bus so that I could see the great sights, because when you're on the right side of the bus, you get the coast. And off we went, south past Mismaloya, to Boca de Tomatlan, where we headed up east and up, and then past the Botanical Garden, and then on to the town of El Tuito. Like I said, about an hour, 15 hour and a half ride or so. And as we turned into the town, I thought I saw Javier at the first bus stop, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to get off, and I just kind of sat on the bus all the way into town. The bus stops at the town square, where the city municipal building is, and the church, and everything. I mean, everything is all in one place in El Tuito, really. Anyway, Javier called me up, and I told him where I was. I found a place to sit down, and I, ordered up some food. And when Javier came, I ordered him some lunch too. I can't remember what I ordered, but I just remember that whatever it was, the order was wrong, okay? It came out and it was wrong. I mean, I speak Spanish, you guys. Why don't they understand me? Okay, anyway, I gave Javier my old phone, my old Samsung Galaxy S6, and he thanked me. I told him to go ahead and get that thing taken care of, go take it into town, and get it unlocked and put in a new SIM card, and he did that for, I think he told me about 250 pesos. So he was happy. And anyway, Javier's job for the day, as I said before, was to take me first to the bird sanctuary, and he was going to wait for me there, and I was going to get a tour of the property and do the interview, and then he was going to take me down to Mayto, about another 50-minute ride from the bird sanctuary to where I was going to be staying the night at this place called Hotelio El Rinconcito. So we started out of town, and before long, I mean, it was right out of town. I thought it was going to be a long way, but it's not. It's pretty close. We arrived at a very long driveway, which led us to a lovely home where we were greeted by a very large dog. The dog was about as big as me, I got to say. I'm 6 feet tall, okay? I think it's a Great Dane or something like that. And then I was greeted by Bonnie, the owner, the co-owner of Rancho Primavera. The setting was absolutely beautiful. It's just lush foliage and forest, and it's quite lovely. Anyway, Bonnie asked if I wanted to take a tour, so she invited me to hop into her SUV, and we got in there along with her little puppy, and off we went. And we drove along the dirt road, but it really wasn't dirt; it was dirt and grass. I mean, there was so much greenery all around. And Bonnie pointed out the new growth forest and some of the older parts. Many points of interest as we drove around. I mean, this is a big piece of property. We saw horses and turkeys and, countless varieties of birds all around. She stopped at several of these rental casitas that they have built on the property. One in particular, it's right on a pond. You look right outside. It was just, it was so beautiful. Anyway, if you want to see pictures of these, just go to the show notes of this episode at www.puertovallartravelshow.com, and you'll find them there in this episode. Check them out in the show notes. I've got pictures of the insides as well of some of these places, and I've also got pictures that she has of the insides of these lovely little casitas. So rather than me talking on and on here, let's find out about this place from the lady in charge, shall we? Let's go right now to a lovely home in El Tuito, and let's have a seat at a table in an open-air, screen-enclosed patio, let's say, and let's meet the amazing Bonnie Jauregui of Rancho Primavera, El Tuito, Cabo, Corrientes, Mexico. Bonnie, thanks very much for coming on the show and talking with me today.
My pleasure. Delightful to be here.
Where are you from? What was your path that led you to here, El Tuito?
Okay, I was born in Tucson, Arizona, and spent my first years there. And then, as a teenager, my family moved to a fishing town on the Gulf of Cortez, Guaymas, Sonora.
Huh?
So we moved to Mexico, which was really nice. I learned Spanish and learned a different culture and different language, and actually met my husband there, who I married later on. And but Guaymas, Sonora, Sonoran Desert, it's very hot in the summertime. So we used to take our summer vacations to Puerto Vallarta. So into the 60s, beginning of the 70s, Vallarta was a little tiny town. I used to ride Elizabeth Taylor's horse on the beach.
Did you really?
Yes. That's a beautiful white horse. And then, but then Vallarta was just much cooler than Guaymas. And so we were familiar with this area, and we would rent a house up by the church, and no screens, no need, no air conditioning, no need. It was just absolute paradise. Just a little tiny town. In the 70s, it was a different place.
Yeah.
And then Highway 200 had just gone in.
Huh.
So my mom, who's a major explorer, we used to come up and explore the rivers and explore everything and what have you. And so we were familiar with this peninsula, which is called Cabo Corrientes. Jump forward several decades. In 1996, my mom, who at that time lived in the Florida Keys on her sailboat, I lived in the big industrial city of Monterrey, and I and her both said it would be nice to have some acreage, to have some fruit trees and some horses. And my mom says, well, I need to be close to the ocean because she's an ocean person. Mm-hmm. And I says, let's go look around Puerto Vallarta because that was a neat place we used to spend some times ago. Well, Puerto Vallarta was too big for us. Changed, even in 96, 22 years ago. So we went up north. We saw Punta Mita, which, of course, now is Four Seasons. It was too hot and dry.
Yeah.
And then we saw this area, and we just fell in love with it. So we spent a couple days, and we just happened upon this piece of property just by luck, which we got at a super bargain price. But it was really big, and my mom said, no, there's no way that just you and I can buy this. Let me find out if your brothers also want to come with us. And my brother said, sure, Mom, go ahead. So the four of us bought this original piece, which is 42 hectares, 90 acres, and it all started there. Full with mango trees, 300 mango trees. And we thought, oh, okay, we'll just be able to use the mango crop as our maintenance of this ranch. Turns out that at 2,000 feet elevation, late rainy season, mangoes are not a good crop here. We produce them, but they're either buggy or covered with fungus or something. So, so it didn't turn out. And my mom, who's the brilliant lady, she's the bird lady. She said, "Well, why don't we do birding tours here?" So she started the birding tours, and that's how we ended up kind of getting on the map because people would come as groups. And bring breeding. First, it was Audubon Society groups, and they would come in groups of 6 to 10, stay here for anywhere from 3 to 7 days, and bird the area. On our property alone, we have identified 256 different species, and within an hour's drive, there's around 350 species. So for bird watchers, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
It just you don't have to move anywhere, and you just see lots of different species. 20 some of them are endemic to this area. So it's a really, really neat place. So that's how from Arizona to Guaymas, from Guaymas to Puerto Vallarta to El Tuito.
Well, yeah, that's quite a journey, I should say. And now, when you bought this piece of land, you were just showing me some pictures of what it looked like.
It was a junkyard. The owners of that time that owned it had just turned it into a cattle ranch, and it was completely abandoned. The people that were the caretakers here had no electricity, no running water, no service of any sort. So it was a garbage dump. Yeah. Years and years they would just throw out their garbage, and it was in major wreck. I mean, we have storms and rainstorms and hurricanes, so fallen trees everywhere, roofs missing. It was very trashed.
Yeah,
but a lot of elbow grease can change things around.
That's right. And it was a good price, so you figured, let's just make it work, right?
Super good price. It was a steal. It really was.
Yeah.
And then we ended up getting more property because the joining ranch, which was completely eroded, they put that up for sale, and we bought those 30 hectares. And then right here next to this one, they were going to sell another 18 hectares to some people that were going to put in some greenhouses. And they were just going to flatten it and put in greenhouses, which would kind of ruin our nice and peace here. So we negotiated with the people, and we bought that property, paid way over market price, but it all evened out. It was only 18 hectares. So now we have actually 3 pieces of property that add together 90 hectares, a little over 200 acres.
Wow. It's expansive.
Yeah.
And what you've done here is pretty incredible. So how were you able to, reclaim this land? How did you do that?
Well, time is the main issue. We do have a major reforestation project. Over the years, we've probably planted now around 8,000 trees. We do need to maintain our fences because all the cattle around the neighboring ranches. We removed the cattle. That was probably number one.
Right.
Because the cattle, if they're over grazing the area, do a lot of damage. You know, densely populated cattle, even if they're grass fed, do a lot of damage.
And that's kind of how it was here too, right? I mean,
very
this was
much
all
over. Very much
grazed. It just overgrazed.
Overgrazed and so on. So remove the cattle, plant trees. You know, the areas that we left as pasture, bush hog them and let the grass just decompose and turn into grass there. Improve the soil. Just years and years and years of letting nature take its course. I mean, like this whole mountain behind us, there were cattle trails all over the place. We used to hike up there all the time. Can't do it anymore now. I mean, because it's deer. There's deer trails, but deers are pretty short. It's kind of hard to get up there. So we just let nature take its course. We did stop people from hunting because we do have deer and javelina. Some of the birds people eat, like the chachalacas, which are like a turkey.
Yeah.
So no hunting's allowed on the property. I used to have to go out with my big dogs and chase people off, but they know now not to come on the property. No hunting, and encouraging by planting trees and flowers that the birds like, either the fruit or the flower, and put out feeders.
Yeah.
So that they could. So we have so many birds now, it's crazy.
So the feeders those are the attractors, right? Those are bringing those birds in, or is it the trees?
It's a combination. It's the location, first of all. Why do we have so many species? This is an ecotone, okay, which means it's where the mountains, which have pine trees and oak, meet the shrub bush, where we have cacti and so on, and a little bit farther down the low side we have mangroves. So we're like an in-between, because people say, well, what's your climate like? And I says, well, it's very wet at one time and very dry the other time. It can be coolish at night, hot during the day. But we grow mangoes and papayas and bananas. But we also have nopal and maguey. But we also have pine trees and oak. It's where they mix.
It's the mix, yeah.
And so that gives us a big variety of birds and wildlife.
And you've got some you got some lakes here and little streams running through here.
Definitely.
And it's beautiful.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, wow. Tell me a little bit, we'll get back to the birds in just a few minutes. Tell me a little bit about your property. You gave me a little tour here, and we looked at some of the casitas that you have here. And they're not casitas. These are good-sized homes, They, you walk in and you go, hey, it's about the size as my house. This is pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about those and their availability and whatnot.
All right. Yes, people, were interested in staying, and so we've done them over the years, built the different ones. There's only 3 of them. They 2 of them have the view over the large pond, which you always have birds there in front, and they can rent. Those 2 have a minimum of a 2-night stay, so that those both rent during the high season for $95 a night, minimum 2 nights. And then the smaller house, Casa Colibri, that you can stay for just 1 night. It's easy to clean and turn over, so I do have I don't have a minimum on that one, and that one is $60 a night on high season.
Yeah, very reasonable for the area that you're in. When you come here, you guys, you will think that you're in the Garden of Eden. It's just that pretty here.
Thank you.
All right, so when birders come here, do they need to stay here to birdwatch?
No, not necessarily. It's better because birds are good early in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the best time to bird. And so if you get to stay here, you get the early birds, and then you also get the night birds. We have quite a few owls, and we have a night jar called the paraki. So you get the night animals too. But it's not absolutely necessary. We're open to the public. We are just a private ranch. We're not a business. We're just a private ranch dedicated to conservation. Turned it into a bird sanctuary. But people are allowed to come and just bird the property during the day. And we do have a lot of people do that. There is no entrance fee. We do have a donation box for those that want to help us with our conservation efforts. But because we have miles of trails, a lot of beautiful trails.
Yeah.
That I normally do on horseback.
Well, you've got some horses here too, so let's talk about that. Do you offer like people horseback riding and stuff like that, or do you just have horses here?
Yeah, we have horses. My mom and I were the horse ladies, and we started, just for our own pleasure. Once in a while, I'll have people arrive that are experienced horse people, then I do allow them to come riding with me. But just it's by invitation.
Okay, all right.
It's by
So
invitation,
all right,
yes.
don't be coming on down here thinking you're going to get a horse ride. Then
Yeah,
Don't-
well,
don't-
it's if you wanted to open it to the public, you need liver stable quality horses, and these are all horses that were born on my property, and they all have different personalities. A couple are really good for beginners, but most of them are not good for beginners. And I'm not going to change my homegrown horses for a horse that just anybody can ride.
Yeah, you have a cute donkey there too, along
Yes,
with those
okay, yes.
along with those horses, don't they?
Yeah, he's a famous donkey.
Okay, let's hear about the famous
Okay, he's
donkey.
about 30 years old now, and for decades, he and his owner, I think his name was Juan, he would dress up the donkey in his serape and bring a charro hat, and he would go and stand by the bridge and let tourists come and get on the donkey and have their picture taken with the donkey. So everyone knew the donkey of the bridge. And then at night, he would take them to the bars and go into the bars. This donkey loves coming inside. He'd come into the bars, and people would get on him and this and that. And so everyone in Vallarta knew of this donkey Conejo. And his owner died. And so it was like, well, what's going to happen to the donkey? And they said, well, they didn't know and what to do. And then I guess a nephew took him. And then the nephew thought he would do the same thing as his uncle, but didn't know that the donkey can be destructive. He went into a bar and apparently caused a lot of damage. And so the donkey was confiscated and held for a large fine that this man had to pay, which he couldn't come up with. And the donkey was about to be slaughtered when a wonderful lady, Janice, that owns the San Angel Inn, she came to his rescue and got him just in time.
Wow,
He was
really?
already at the slaughterhouse.
Ooh,
So she didn't go in person. She sent, a vet that works for her, Dr. Poli, who does the spade and neuters. And here, she's a very important person here in Vallarta. And saved the donkey. And then Janice at first didn't know what to do with him and was looking for a rescue place to put him. And she came up here and she saw the place. She said, well, how much would you charge me to have the donkey here? I said, I'm not going to charge you anything. You just, if I have a vet bill, I would like you to help me with that. But other than that, no. The donkey's just going to live here free. Well, the donkey thought he died and went to heaven because he had lived his whole life tied up. When this man would come home come back to his house, he was just a little tiny shack, and he would only tie up the donkey. So then they'd lead the donkey out. So he got here, and he was like, he couldn't roll enough. He would roll in the sand. He would roll in the mud, and and then he would romp around with the other horses, and he's so playful. He is such a neat animal.
that must have been something else to see that.
Yeah. So, and we have other rescues too. We've had several bird rescues. We've had up to 5 macaws that have been confiscated, and the government has them come here, and then we have a release program, and they go back to the wild. We've had several parrots. We've had orange-fronted parakeets. We've had lilac-crowned, which all go back to the wild. And then we even had one time a magpie jay, which had fallen out of a nest and somebody rescued. But he didn't have a happy ending. He got eaten by another bird. Well, he hadn't been. Jays need to be trained by their parents what's dangerous. Oh. And we have here a type of hawk that kind of decides he likes to eat other birds, and so he got eaten.
Yeah.
But he had a
Hawks
very
are kind of that way.
Yeah, he had a very, very, very happy life until one day he disappeared.
Until the.
But he was fun. People that came here, they were like, "Oh wow, you have a magpie jay," and he would get on people's shoulders, and he was a lot of fun. And the same thing with the parrots. People say, "Oh, we love your place because we have so many birds." Wild birds, and then these semi-wild birds that were tame, but they live wild.
Yeah, yeah. You also have, when you were talking about how people can come on and take a look, and they don't necessarily have to be staying here, what do they do if they're going to do that? Do they call ahead and say, "Hey, can we take a little hike on your
Usually,
property?" How does this happen? I mean, you don't have people tromping through your
No.
backyard
People
without
contact
inviting
me. Yeah, they contact me almost always through email. I do have a website, and people usually find out about me from the website. And on the website, I have my email addresses on the website, and they usually contact me. And how much does it cost to go on bird for the day? And I said, no. And then there are a couple bird watching tours that come here, and they almost always do call me. They call me the day ahead of time. "Oh, tomorrow we're going to bring a group. Is it okay?" Yeah, fine. So they bring in tours also, but they do call. But most other people just email me. Once in a while, I'll have somebody just show up, but it's not very often.
Okay. All right. So just keep that in mind, you guys. You can't just drop in.
It is private property.
Yeah, it is private property. There's dogs on the property, so they're all friendly. Well,
They're big. They're big, but they're friendly.
When people come and stay, is it a bed and breakfast, or is it just mostly? I mean, you don't serve them breakfast, do you?
Okay, there's two types of accommodations,
All right,
and actually, the bed and breakfast part is no longer on the website because we were getting more groups than we could actually handle.
Really, I believe that.
Because just my 88-year-old mom and me were the only ones. We'd give them breakfast and we'd give them dinner. We wanted them to go and spend money in town because our goal is to teach conservation. And so if people go and they spend money in Tuito and they say, oh, these people are bringing people in and these people are spending money and buying at our restaurant, buying at our stores, so it's good. So we wanted to promote also them to spend money in the little town. And so we just had too many groups.
Yeah.
It was too much work. My mom is 88, bless her heart, and she still works and fixes. So we have limited our groups to only 3 a year now.
Okay.
We used to do like 7 a year. But yeah, they could come and they would stay in the rooms here. This, as I said, it's a private property. We have a main house, which has one room that's available for rent. And then my brother's house has 3. And then downstairs, which used to be a storage room, but we've turned those into 2 bedrooms and 2 baths. So we do have enough bedrooms to accommodate people. But the issue here is that it's limited, and it is a minimum of 3-night stay. And actually this year, we did have one large group coming, and since it was such a large group, we told them that we would do only breakfast, and they were fine with that. Mm-hmm. They said, that's fine, just do breakfast. They're coming from England. And I said, no, that's too hard to serve 2 meals to that size of a group. So, so that's the bed and breakfast and dinner part, as they say, but it's limited. It has to be a minimum of 6 people, a minimum of 3 nights. And then what's more flexible and really more reasonably priced are the houses. There's 3 little rental houses. You say they're not so little. They aren't.
No, they're not.
And I say the 2 larger ones have a 2-night minimum, $95 a night, a weekly rate of $570. So if you stay 7 nights, you get the last night free, and the little house is $60 or $360 for the full week. They have a very complete kitchen. We have a very decent grocery store here. Wonderful butchers with grass-fed local beef.
Nice.
It's really, really nice. And they're welcome to any fruit that I have on the property. I always have limes and lemons, and in the summer I have mangoes, and any fruit that's on the property, they're welcome to any of it.
Very good.
And usually I have my vegetable garden, but that's only in the winter time. Summers are too hot and wet for growing vegetables. But in the summertime, I have a lot of Chinese greens and lettuces growing, and that's all for the guests. Anything that they want, they can take.
Talk about fresh, you guys. Here you go.
And organic, of course.
And organic, of course. When we were driving up here, I saw some solar panels. So you guys self-sufficient over here?
Yes, we're not off the grid because off the grid means batteries, and batteries very contaminate. So here in Mexico, well, I think in the United States too, we have the system that you're still on the grid, but we have what they call a reversible meter. So during the day, we produce plenty of electricity. It goes back into the grid, and then at night we do consume for the grid, and your meter will go either forward or backwards, whether you're producing or consuming. So yeah, both the main house with its little rooms that we rent out, or the 3 rentals, which is actually a good distance from here. It's a 10-minute walk between the main house and where the rentals are, and that also has the solar panels. And then in each area has a deep well, and those deep wells have solar panels because they don't have electricity to them where the wells is. So those do have solar panels that have a little 24-volt immersible pump, and they only pump water during the day. But that's all we need.
Yeah.
No batteries there either.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Probably...
And, of course, the hot water heaters are solar, too.
Aha. Okay, so you're really going for it.
Yeah.
You
don't...
You didn't stop there, did you?
No, the only thing we do produce, and we do have a solar pot for cooking, but we don't use that very often. But we do have the stove, so we do use gas for...
Okay. Well, you can't be perfect.
No. Close to it.
Well, I think you're pretty close to it, that's for sure. What is the favorite thing about this place for you?
For me, just being in contact with nature, clean air, clean water. Oh, when I leave this place and I have to drink city water, because my water is super good quality, tastes so good. Your own well, nothing's added to it. Just my horses, my dogs, the birds, my garden, just walking the trails. When I horseback ride, I see a lot of wildlife. I'll see armadillos, I'll see javelina, I'll see deer. Especially when I'm by myself.
You see armadillos here?
Oh, definitely, yes.
I didn't know that.
You want to see some holes that they made over here? I'll show you.
I'd love to see an armadillo one day.
Yeah.
They come out at night. What are they doing?
I see them during the day, but they're very timid because the people locally eat them.
Really?
But that's the secret of being on horseback, because they think you're just a horse.
Oh, right.
So if I'm by myself, if it's two of us and we're talking on the trail, forget it. You're not going to see anything. But if I'm by myself, I see quite a bit.
How cool is that? Okay, let's go away from Rancho Primavera just for a minute. And let's go into town. Let's go over to El Tuito just for a few minutes.
Valley of Beauty and God.
When people come here, what should they not miss?
Just experiencing the plaza, experiencing the governmental building, which has some really pretty murals and so on. Galeria Copelia, which is a dear friend of mine. She has an art gallery that she it's nonprofit, and she has a lot of different of artwork of several forms, mostly painting and woodwork and some pottery, some jewelry of the local artisans, and of course the local tequilas and raisillas and those sort of things. But her place is gorgeous, just a really eclectic collection of different art from different people, and she herself is a fantastic artist herself.
Nicely.
And then for eating, I think Patio de Mario is very nice. It's somebody's home, that their little interior patio, they've turned it into a nice little restaurant. They cook it right there. The wife and the daughter and the son, it's a family business, and it's really, really nice. Simple menu, very well priced. There's Valle Azul, which is also a family run. They have a little bit more of a selection. Those places. We have 2 taco stands that are wonderful. The one that I tell people, this is our local McDonald's, if they come for a quick meal, is Felipe's. He has nothing but trompo, which is the pork that's roasted on a cone form, and then they slice off the meat. He has those kind of tacos or quesadillas, but they're exquisite. The salsas are exquisite. The service is just, and it's just a family. You see the wife, the husband, and the 2 kids running the place. Wow. And it's just really good. And up on the highway, we have Tacos El Amigo, which, have a bigger selection and so on. And they're really good. And the price you can't beat.
No, I imagine not. What about in the immediate area? What other
There's
places are there
lot
that
to
are
do.
kind of crazy,
right?
or
Yeah,
interesting?
people use sometimes the rental houses because I cater mostly to birdwatchers because this is a bird sanctuary. But I do have people come that they want to go and explore. They want to go to Cabo Corrientes is a very large peninsula with beautiful, pristine beaches, and so this is a nice center place to stay. So there's 2 roads that lead out onto the beaches. The one goes to Tehuamixtle and Mayto, which are beautiful beaches, and they have really good seafood. There's 2 of them, 2 restaurants there that I like, and so that is a wonderful place to go.
Wait a minute, you skipped that. What are the 2 restaurants that you really like?
Cande and Galleta.
Okay.
And they're both. They want oysters. They just go there, have the oysters there in the water right there. You're right on the beach. You're right there, and so they pull out the oysters and they sluck them right there, open them up, and the fish is good. It's always freshly caught. Red snapper, almost always. And whenever I go down that way, it's an hour's drive from here.
Yeah.
It's not far at all. I always take a nice chest and buy myself some fish. You see them bring them in. You see them bringing the fish in.
Right.
And it's just so good.
Wonderful. All right, so that's that road that goes to Mayto and Tehuamixtle, and then there's another road.
And that's the road that I'm on. I'm on the road, they call it Camino to Chacala. So you can drive down to Chacala, and if you have a 4-wheel drive vehicle, you can drive all the way down to Yalapa.
Really?
I did it in my little CRV.
No kidding.
No kidding. And it all depends on how well the roads maintained that year, how bad the rains have been. But then you can drive to there, or you can go to Pisota, or you can go farther up, go to Refugio, and then to Chimo. And then if the road is in good enough condition, you can go all the way through to Corrales and back around to the road that connects to the one that goes to Mayto. So you can do a whole loop.
It's a loop.
It's a loop, yes.
Yeah.
My brothers do it regularly on the motorcycle.
Can they do it in a day?
Oh, easily.
Really?
I've done it in a
All of
day.
those places?
Well, no,
No,
not all the
okay.
places. I mean, you
Wow,
can
okay,
drive.
wait.
You can drive it.
Yeah.
And maybe make 2 stops
Okay, stop
in a day.
at one or two of those
Right,
places. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you had to stop at one or two of them, what would be your favorite two?
Probably Tehuamixtle. And then there's a place that we actually own some land. It's called Playitas. It's little beaches, because it's little beaches with rocks. And one of the rock collections there they call the Cathedral. And they're just, beautiful tide ponds. And it's a beautiful beach to swim in. It is open ocean. So you have to select what areas you go into the water. You can swim there. Some of the open beaches, no, there would be too much undertow. But there's a place that are protected by the rocks, and you can swim there. And nobody knows about these places. I mean, you could just skinny dip if you wanted to.
Yeah.
They're really, really pretty.
Really secluded,
very
deserted,
secluded, deserted.
nobody
Yes,
there.
extremely safe too. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, aren't you worried about living in Mexico?" I said, we don't even lock our doors. And most of the time, my mom and I are here by ourselves, and it is very, very, very safe.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest danger are drunk drivers. That's the only thing that I would say scared me.
Yeah.
Because on Sunday, late afternoon, you don't want to be on the roads if you can avoid it.
Okay, note taken. Sunday late afternoon, look out, right?
Yeah, that's, I've never, I've been hit by one. Yeah, I got hit by some guys on the road coming up here. They were seriously injured. Nothing happened to us. But I've known of several that have happened. So that would be the only thing I'd be afraid of. But it's very safe here.
Yeah, I found it to be unusually peaceful. The people here are so nice and generous with their time and, always with a big smile. I love El Tuito. If you were going to take a weekend somewhere, where would you go?
I did go to Cielito one weekend, but actually that place has been closed. I don't know why they closed it down. I do enjoy very much playing in the rivers. So there are some areas that you can go and you can camp by the riverside, and these rivers have this beautiful, beautiful, pristine, clear water. There is one place on the other side of Tuito, another 20-minute drive up into the mountains. It's a great camping spot, beautiful, pristine water, lots of hiking, just exploring the river. It just goes on and on and on. That's where I would probably spend a weekend.
Okay. Camping.
Camping.
Look at you.
Yeah.
All right. It's interesting because I was yesterday up in San Sebastian, and my driver was mentioning, he was pointing out a sign for cabañas, for cabins that people rent out in the mountains. And I'm all, okay, it's kind of like camping? And he says, no, it's, the whole family goes, and there's a swimming pool there, and, for very little, you can bring your family and your pets, and everybody comes on up there, and it's, it's like life in the mountains.
There are quite a few places like that here because the government provides funding for people that of low resources that have land that they want to promote ecotourism, and the government actually provides some funds for them to be able to build these cabins. And there's quite a few. There's some up in Provincia, and the beautiful view from up there. Provincia's nice. I wouldn't be surprised there's some there. And actually, what was Cielito, which is closed right now, that was also government funded. That it was owned by the local, and the locals ran it and so on. The people, the ejido owners. But that is something you can find here in Mexico. Yeah. They're usually pretty rustic. They're not like they're not like my houses.
No,
because my houses, are completely equipped. You've got your blender, your toaster, your microwave, your coffee pot. You have everything you need there. These are quite minimal.
Right. And you'd be the only white guy there, or white girl there, too, probably, because it's probably mostly Mexicans.
Probably,
right?
yeah. It's not too well known.
Well, there you go. You learn your Spanish. You might want to do it.
Exactly. That's very important.
Go rustic. If somebody was planning on coming here and staying, how would they go about doing that?
They would look at our website, which is Rancho Primavera, Mexico. .com. You got to put the Mexico because you just put just Rancho Primavera, you get sent to Argentina on a dog farm. So that's why we added the Mexico. People say, why did you put the Mexico? It's more complicated. So Rancho Primavera Mexico.com, and there you have my email address, and you can contact me and my phone number. Some people just call me. They say, oh, we want to come and so on. But I always say, please send me an email so it's just easier for me for booking that I have an action in writing.
You have a record.
I have a record, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
So it's super easy. You just email.
Wonderful. Am I missing something? Did I forget to ask you any question that maybe we should cover?
No, I think not.
Okay, well then in that case, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to come up here and giving me a tour of this beautiful, beautiful ranch. I mean, this is so pretty up here, I got to say. And what you've done here is absolutely amazing, and I'm sure that you are, but you should be so proud of what you've done here.
Thank you so very much. I love showing it. That's why I tell people, I said, come and see it. I mean, I just love showing off and showing you the pictures of what it looked like when we bought it and what it's turned out to be. And I think it's really important for the locals to learn about conservation. To me, that's very important. When my birders first came, the locals will tell me, oh, I saw your guests. They had binoculars, but they didn't have a gun. Why would you want binoculars if you're not going hunting? And I says, no, they're hunting for birds, and they pay to stay here. And they, and they says, wow, that's really neat. So that's the best way to teach them about conservation is to show them that ecotourism does pay off.
It works. And there's people out here who will pay to come out with binoculars.
Exactly. Or some people just come to go hiking. As I say, there's a lot of trails. Yeah. Probably several miles of trails, and they just want to come hiking and exploring the local beaches and the rivers and the town.
Well, you've done just a terrific job, as I said.
Thank you.
All right, come to the Garden of Eden, you guys. Come over here to Rancho Primavera, visit Bonnie, and you will be totally floored. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so very much.
Wow, what a great story, right? And when I say Garden of Eden, I really mean it. I mean, it was just so gorgeous. Now, I've been in touch with Bonnie over the last couple of days. She tells me that her mom is in the hospital in Arizona, and she's with her right now. And things don't look too good, unfortunately, for Mom. So I asked, what does that mean, actually, for Rancho Primavera? And Bonnie says that they have staff on hand right now to handle the Casitas. So for those who are staying there, who have reservations, don't worry. There'll be somebody to take care of you. And as soon as things get ironed out, she will return, and she will be there to take care of you, too. I'm going to follow up with Bonnie as things progress, and I'll let all of you know what's going on. But for now, just know that you can stay there, you can make reservations, and you are welcome to make reservations, and I encourage you to do so. So check out the show notes for the pictures of this beautiful place, and let's think good thoughts for Bonnie and her family and her mom, of course, okay? All right. What a beautiful place. Okay, anyway, Javier and I said our goodbyes to Bonnie, and then we headed on down the road to Mayto. He stopped and showed me some land that was for sale. Javier, are you a real estate agent? What's the deal? Are you taking my job? Anyway, if you remember last time that you met Javier, we took a ride from El Tuito to Mayto. And I had asked him at the time to introduce me to somebody interesting, maybe an interesting person, like a hotel owner or a restaurateur or somebody. And he said, sure, and he took me down there and he introduced me to the owner of this hotel. Remember? Well, if you don't, maybe you want to listen to that episode. Go back, you can catch up and listen to that episode where I actually talked with Javier and learned the history of the area of Mayto and of Tehuamixtle, and you can check that out. But if you remember, Javier, when he took me there last year, the owner of the hotel didn't want to talk to me. And the reason he didn't want to talk to me is because, well, he didn't want the entire world tromping down to his hotel. And Javier didn't like that. But I told Javier that I understood where Fernando was coming from, the owner, Fernando. Fact is, though, that the whole world isn't listening to this show. I don't think the whole world is listening to this show. I mean, it's just you and me, right? So I really don't have to get an interview to do a review about a certain place. I've done reviews about other places before without an interview, right? So let's just tell you a little bit about my experiences instead, shall I? Now, what I really wanted to do after I had left the Hotel Rinconcito the last time with my angry driver, I really wanted to. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to spend the night at that hotel, and I wanted to try the food, and I wanted to sit on the beach, and I wanted to look up at the stars at night, because I just knew that it would be quite a sight. The people that I've interviewed, other people who have said pretty much the same thing. So we pulled up to El Rinconcito, and I grabbed my day pack. I paid Javier, and I asked him if he'd come back for me at noon tomorrow, the next day. And then I walked on down to the bar where Fernando's son was working, and I introduced myself, and he looked up at me, and took his guest log book and checked it out and said, one night, Barry, that'll be 600 pesos. And so I paid him 600 pesos, which is about $30. And he gave me the key. He told me where I could find my room, and told me also that if I wanted dinner, to just let him know, because they were getting that started pretty soon. They were making enchiladas. In fact, he says, pointing over to the kitchen, he says they're making them right now. So I looked over there, and yeah, absolutely, a couple of ladies were making those enchiladas, and I was ready. I was kind of hungry, right? And I was in the middle of nowhere. Where else am I gonna go eat, right? Well, to be fair, actually, there actually is another bigger facility right next door to El Rinconcito called the Hotel Mayto. They have a pool. They've got lots of rooms. It's a much bigger facility. But hey, those ladies were busily preparing dinner for me, I guess. So anyway, I said, yep, make me some food. So I went up to my room. I think it was on the third floor. Very, very pleased to find a very spacious room with a king-size bed, a very comfortable bed, not a typical hard Mexican bed. It also had another bed in there, another like a single bed or a double bed, I don't know what, but if I wanted to sleep around, I guess I could have done that. Anyway, there was a big window, or a bank of windows looking out over the beach and looking out over the area where there were tables set where people would eat, the little restaurant area and the bar area, and then off past these palm trees in this area, you could see the beautiful, beautiful bay. Just gorgeous. And the bathroom was spacious. It was good-sized. It was clean. It was usable. It was very nice. And the floors in the room were tile floors. I think they were Sitio tiles. All in all, a really, really, really nice place for $30 US. Not bad at all. I walked downstairs, and I made sure that they knew how happy I was with my accommodations, and then I walked out for a great sunset. Take a look at that. There was a crazy thunderstorm that was hanging over Puerto Vallarta. You could see these huge, huge thunderheads and lightning flashing all through this thunderhead. It was really, really cool. And I could tell that Vallarta was getting a gully washer, and we were not. It was a great show. And when I got back, they got like 4 inches of rain, I'm told. So I missed that. Gee. Oh, well. Anyway, as I walked back and sat down to this yummy plate of enchiladas, some other groups started arriving, some small groups of 2 and 4. These were, I could tell they were repeat visitors. They were recognized and they were just, so happy to be back. There was a group of guys there they had big fishing poles, and they just couldn't wait to get out there and start casting out. They were going to go cast in the dark. That was kind of funny. Anyway, it was low season. There wasn't a lot of people there, right? Just a few rooms were being used. It was October, right? And then Fernando, he came back from shopping and he greeted me, and I introduced myself again to him, reminded him about the previous year, where he didn't want to talk to me. He remembered me. And I told him I understood him, not wanting to talk with me about El Rinconcito. What a nice man this guy is. And his wife, his son, I can't say enough about the hospitality, about the concern Fernando has for his guests. He is a really, really neat guy. I really got to really like him. So these enchiladas, like I said, were just fantastic. They were out of this world. Came with a salad. I think had some soup, some fresh veggies. And the meal was, I would say, was on par with, some of the better Puerto Vallarta restaurants I've eaten at. So it was worth getting the food, I gotta say. Watched the sunset all the way down, and then up to my room and did some writing for the podcast. And I must say that although internet was available, it was not the best. Wasn't really good. Wasn't really fast, right? So, but that's okay, right? Because I was there for a little bit of rest and relaxation, and I got that because I don't get that when I go to Puerto Vallarta. I'm always on the run. I'm always looking for that next interview. And it was nice, actually, to sit down and do nothing. And what I was really, really looking forward to was the possibility of seeing an incredible night sky. And I was not disappointed. There were just so many stars, you guys. So many. The Milky Way and just other ways, other galaxies. It was just fantastic. And it was pleasant sitting there. I was sitting on the beach on a plastic chair. A couple of groups of campers were also on the beach, and they had their bonfires going next to their dome tents, and they were playing music, and they were having a great time. And even though I was on my own, I was enjoying the sights, I was enjoying the smells, I was enjoying the sound of the waves, and the sounds of the music, and the sounds of the fire crackling. It just a special, special time. And then it was time to go to bed, get some sleep. So, as I said, it was a comfortable bed, a nice sleep. The room was quiet, it was comfortable, and I enjoyed a very, very sound sleep. I could have easily have stayed another day, that's for sure. I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if I could have stayed more than a couple of days because I am not one that likes to sit around. I like to get out, I like to do stuff. So I'm always on the go, but that's just me. If you're looking for something that is laid back, do nothing, just read, relax, have a good time with the most beautiful setting, nice walk down a deserted beach, this is your place, folks. It really, really is. I loved it. So the next morning, I got up and they asked if I wanted breakfast, and I said sure. And they said they're making nopales, which is with the cactus leaves, and I was not interested in that, unfortunately. I'm not into nopales. But they said, what? No, that's okay. And so they dug around and they made me some just delicious ham and eggs and with just wonder. I got a picture of it. I can't remember now. All I can tell you is it was once again. It was one of these great meals that is on par with, some of the nicer fondas, that you'll find in Puerto Vallarta. I'd like to duck into some of these fondas for breakfast, and this was no exception. It was just as good. So after breakfast, I took my camera, and I walked along the beach all by myself. Pretty much all by myself. There were a couple people on the beach, but I got to tell you, I got some great pictures. I have them in the blog post in the show notes. So you want to check them out and see how beautiful the beach is there on Mayto. Now, I sat down in the sand and I leaned back on my elbows in the sand. And I'm sure I got bit by a couple of no-see-ums. I had some no-see-ums on the backs of my arms from that. So keep in mind, you guys, put on bug repellent because, I was not paying attention, and I did a no-no. I went out on the beach in the morning without any bug repellent on. So don't forget, you guys, there's no CMs. There's no CMs also up in El Tuito. So remember your bug repellent before you take this adventure, okay? So I had a seat and waited for Javier to arrive, which he did. He showed up at noon, just like clockwork. Thank you, Javier. And we sat and we talked with Fernando for a little while. And a couple others gathered around. We had a nice little conversation. And then off we went to Tehuamixtle, the next bay over, thereabouts. And on the way, actually, we stopped. And we stopped at his family's home. He introduced me to his dad and to his brothers who were making furniture in the yard. And he showed me the house where he grew up in Mayto. Very, very modest home. And he explained to me that, it needed a woman's touch. His mom has been gone for some time. And, no one's there to keep things clean and in order. And so it's just men there, So Javier's brothers and his dad. So anyway, they're nice people. They need a woman over there. Come on. Someone go over there. I'm kidding. Anyway, what nice people. It was such an honor to meet his family, and to had a chance to see where he grew up, Now, if you heard that previous episode with Javier from last year, you would know that Javier does not live in Mayto. He now lives with his family in El Tuito, but one day he would like to come back and live in Mayto. And that won't happen until his kids get out of school. So we said goodbye to Javier's family, and we headed off to Tehuamixtle for lunch at Candy's. While we were there, we stopped and we talked with his friend. You're going to meet his friend, known as Perro, or Dog. Okay, don't get me started. Anyway, Perro was opening these just huge oysters and getting them all ready for the restaurant. So he introduces me to Perro, and then he proceeds to tell me this story about the oysters and about his experiences and about all this cool stuff that he's done and that he knows about Tehuamixtle. So I whipped out my video camera and I taped the conversation. And you can see the video, if you like, there in the show notes for this episode. But what I thought I would do is just give you the audio of what he said, because it's pretty cool. So let's go right now. Let's see what Javier has to say, and let's listen to his story about Tehuamixtle.
So this is, his name is Jose Luis, but he likes to call him El Perro. It's his nickname. He's natural from here, from Tehua, and he's always living here. Never been outside, probably in Vallarta, but his life is here, like the way I am. It's son-in-law of Candace's restaurant. And like I said before, if you can take the picture that way, used to be a pier where all the big boats, shrimp boats, and people carrying things around, tobacco, sugar cane, coffee, all what is in the area. All the people from Boca, Tomatlan, Ixtla Way, Chimo, they all come here because even this port, and I know, and my records, is older than Vallarta. As you can see in the map or the lodge, whatever it's in the map, it's a Tehuamixtle port. It's not just a town. It used to be a port, but back in the revolution, these properties belong to the French or Spanish people. So in the revolution, they all take out their things, their properties, and go because they scared or what happened. Like I showed you a little bit a while ago. There's still ruins right there. It's like a 3-storage building where they have like a kind of crane or a cable, and they slide things from that hill all the way to here so they can load all the boats here in this area. It used to be here. I think that probably there's nothing left already. Probably if we go and dive in deep, we will find some pieces of iron or ship. You see where these people are swimming right now? Mm-hmm. It used to be a sink boat there.
Sunken ship, huh?
Yeah, old ship. They call it's a different call. When Cristobal Colon came to Mexico, they have 3 names in the ships. They call las carabelas. Okay, what's one with one vela? It's called velero. It's un velero. What's the one with 2? And what's the one with 3? They have names for each one of them. Just think about how many times or that days, how they carry things around and mules, because we don't have no roads, we don't have planes, we don't have nothing. From that area there used to be a 3 or 4 storage building. They put a kind of a crane and they roll down all the way to here. They put probably a satellite or something for the internet right there.
Uh-huh.
But here, back in the still in the 90s, you can see all the structure. It's all rust up.
Right.
But was here.
Was there, yeah.
Yeah. Probably you can, like I said, you can go dive and find some. You will find pieces of the pier where people come and do a lot of business. A lot of business. Stream guys, you name it. I mean, all the area, we don't have a transportation, we don't have roads, we don't have nothing but the sea. The sea probably right now from here to Vallarta is gonna take you 2.5 hours, and one of those boats, everyone can take you. Each one you can take. Everyone is gonna take like 2.5 hours, but it's expensive.
I was gonna say, how much do you think it is? You have any idea?
No, I don't know.
No.
Exactly, because I never asked.
Well, yeah.
Then let me ask the perro.
Okay.
Perro, ¿como cuánto cobran de aquí a Vallarta un viaje en panga? En panga, más o menos. 2,000.
No, ¿sabes cuánto cobrarán?
Let's say, I don't know, but $100.
Yeah.
US dollar.
Right. Well, that would be like going. That would be really getting a tour of the coastline, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, you will get it. I mean, I don't know if you're going around, but you see all this, starting from Maypala, El Cielito, Las Cabañas, they will take you all around through the coast. Get to Mayto, get to Corrales, Chimo, Boca, and then to the pier of Vallarta. And it's amazing because I've been there. I've been there when I was a fisherman, when I was 9 or 10 years old. I used to be the one with the baseball bat to hit the sharks in the nose to kill them. And I was so scared because when they stand in the panga like this and they pull a 400-pound a shark, and I was only 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It scared me. And I had to
Scared
do
me.
it, you know. I was 9 or 10 kilometers away from beach, 20 from home, and nobody knows where I was. That was scary for me.
Oh, yeah.
I have to do it.
Interesting. Wow.
I have to do it, and no está Vega aquí todavía. No. But I know Cande was one of them.
Hay muchas mamás.
Cande, Álvaro, and maybe Cookie, Puñitos, but they're busy. ¿Quién? Puñito, sí, son de los primeros de aquí. Vega y el More. And you see, I know all these people, man, and they all know me. I'm 50 years old. They older than I, probably 15 or maybe 11 more years old. But they know me, and we take adventures. And you still have the adrenaline to feel that moment when that happened and this moment. It's a real adventure to be around this area because I know all this, and I feel, I don't know what I can say, but I feel my heart to pump harder than it was when I think and say things about this, because it's a real truth. It's not lying about anything, because everybody knows me. And what I'm saying is the truth, because all people that already passed away, they told me we know and we learn about them, how we live. And one time back in, I think was 88, 89, you can see all this beach. Just take the picture of that. All this beach, you can see nothing but sharks, turtles dying over there. You can see the water red because they kill a lot of turtles, a lot of sharks. They clean it and just throw them away. The government had to take us out. The people who was living here, they took us out of the town because it was infested of some kind of infest. I forgot the name of the name they call cholera or something like that. They evacuate us all. It's only, I can say it all in that time because I was included, but it's only 6 or 7 houses around. So they evacuate us because for save our lives.
Yeah.
Because it was so infested because all the dirt and the beach. They kill it, like you can see it right now. You see this? These are shells. See, they saving the shells. They took it somewhere else because they have they call larva. I don't know the name in English.
Yeah.
The larva.
Larva. Mm-hmm.
Okay. If that larva goes again in the rock, in 1 year it's gonna be a full oyster again. That's why they throw them on rocks or when they go and diving.
Interesting. So they throw those shells back in, and so they can regenerate.
Regenerate, exactly. Before, people you can see around the house, you can still see shells there. People don't know what to do with it. They didn't know the services or the purposes of the shells going back to the sea. But back in I can say maybe 7 years ago, a biology come and said, look, we're gonna grow new shells.
New oyster.
New oysters. And they showing how to do it. It is the one who told us about the larva and the shell. If you put them back in the rocks, it probably stick to the rock, it grows again. And it's the best oyster in the world. The one is in the rocks, not the one you grow in boxes. Because you can see a yellow or a red boyas or balloons.
Yeah.
They have growing oysters, but in boxes.
Cultured.
Yeah, cultured.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the rocks.
Right.
Those are, we call it fake.
Right.
We
Yeah,
call them
cultured.
fake,
Yeah, they're
They're not the same. They don't have, and they didn't grow a lot. They just only grow about probably this round. This is the biggest one you can gonna have all the time. But in the rocks, as you can see, those are one of the biggest right now. But you can see the
they're
one
huge. They're like the size of softballs. Some of them, you know.
It used to be more. Look at this. Look at this. This is a to be in.
That's an oyster there,
it's
huh?
An oyster. It's a huge oyster. Okay, you just need to know how to open it up. Probably have one here, and maybe it's 3 pieces. But sometimes it's one like this. This is only one. It's only one piece. But this used to be bigger. I'm gonna show you in a little while the shells that we had for a long time ago. But this round, big. I mean big. When I say big, it's big. Because with one shell there, so one oyster, you can fill up a cup.
Oh wow!
Only with one, more than 1 kilo. And we have records of that.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Huge.
It's huge. You see, and they're all fresh. You see, they're different, but they're all fresh. Look, they have different shape. Different, like this is. It's got three oysters here or more. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 4. But this is very small one. But it's still one. It's growing up. You know. But you see, if you take just like one, it's big. It's just big. You go anywhere else in the country you go, you will see the bigger oyster you will find is gonna be like this. Tampico, Tamaulipas, Veracruz, you will find an oyster. The biggest one is gonna be like this. Just take a look at the size of one, the difference. That's why Tehuamixtle is so famous about it. Oysters and people. They will really live people.
Wow. That Javier, man, he has got some great stories, doesn't he? That's why, you know what? That's why I love Javier. And you guys are going to love this guy too. Make sure you hire him. Okay. Anyway, we sat down for lunch. And we were hoping to interview, one of Candy's lovely daughters who runs the restaurant, who speaks English pretty good, but we just missed her. And so that interview is going to come another time, like the next time that I go down to Tehuamixtle, which may be the next time I'm in Puerto Vallarta, because I just love Candy's. And while I'm down there in Tehuamixtle, bringing you that interview, I'm going to take a little time and take you to a little bed and breakfast, also in Tehuamixtle. So, anyway, I'll find some cool things to introduce you to around that little fishing village, and it's going to be our little secret, okay? Just you and me. All right. Anyway, time was running out, and we needed to get back. We needed to get back to El Tuito, about 50 minutes away, so we hopped in that taxi, and off we went. About halfway, it started to rain. Not too badly. I mean, I was laughing about it raining on those poor Vallartans the other night, but now it's raining on us, right? Anyway, it stopped just about the time that we got to El Tuito, and so no issues with the road getting washed out or anything like that. Javier dropped me off over at the bus stop, right at the center of town. Thanked me for the phone again, and I paid him for a job well done. I think it was about 600 pesos. And all in all, this was a great little trip. It worked out perfectly. Everything from the first call from Los Angeles to Javier to that final drop-off at the bus bench was perfect. The ride was uneventful and beautiful because the summer rains have really greened up everything. The rivers flowing like crazy. It was just a good 2 days, I gotta say. I got off the bus and I walked to my new Airbnb. I arrived just in time. I mean, this, again, just like clockwork, you guys. I met the owner of the condo. And this condo, I lucked out. I scored it for $45 a night. It's in this building that is right on the Malecon. It's called Malecon 2. And this condo just sits right over Vitia Restaurant, right on the Malecon. You can see Gabino, the pull tab purse maker, from the balcony of my Airbnb. I waved down at him. How about that? Now, I was able to score that at such a great price once again because, number one, it was last minute, and number two, it was off-season. So, anyway, I found the place while I was in Vallarta staying at the first Airbnb. I had not made my plans for the second Airbnb, and I could get away with that because it was the month of October. So if you can go during the month of October, during the month of May, June, and you're doing the Airbnb thing, you can split that up sometimes. You don't have to stay at the same one. And so what I did was I knew that I was going to be taking a break and going down to Mayto for one night, and I waited to pick that last Airbnb until the last moment, and that's why I scored that really, really cool place. Just something else to keep in mind if you're going to do the Airbnb thing and you're going to be in town during the off-season, October, May, June, that kind of thing, okay? Now, this trip, I'm going to be staying with my wife and two other couples, as I mentioned last week. We're going to be staying in a really fancy place. It's a condo, big condo, on Playa Conchas Chinas. I'll be there for the first 6 nights, and then they all go back home. My twin brother Gary, his wife Jill, and my buddy Jose and his wife Ann, and my wife Debbie. They're all going to go home, and then I'm going to move out of this really nice oceanfront condo to a little $23 a night Airbnb in the 5th of December neighborhood. And we'll see if it's decent. We'll see if both of these places are decent, and I will report back with you, to you, I should say, with videos and with photos. And, well, you'll see where I stayed because that's what I do. All right. Wow, this has been a long show. Thank you so much for listening all the way through. That should do it for this week. Now, next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. And until then, remember, this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition, my friends. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else, so just do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, JR has his DIY tours, his maps, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. And I have links to all of those in my show notes. So go there and check it out. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode that I create. And if you haven't been to my website, you really have to check it out. Go there, see what I've got. I've got links to the places we talk about. I have interesting pictures and more, all right there in my blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show that I create. So check them out for sure if you haven't already, all right? All right. And thank you, Bonnie Jauregui from Rancho Primavera. You've got such a lovely, lovely place, Bonnie. Listen, if you aren't into bird watching, you guys, these casitas are wonderful places to stay. Use them for a hub to visit all the local towns and the playas that surround El Tuito. Make sure you visit her website, see what's available. For sure, you can find the links in my show notes, but go check it out for sure. Thank you, Javier Arias, my taxi in El Tuito. You can contact Javier at taxitomayto@gmail.com or go to the show notes for his phone number and call him. Reserve your ride through him, right? Don't forget. Do it early because Javier books up quickly because he's that good, you guys. Okay. And hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta.